Today on Outside the Box Reviews, Predator Week continues, and because you voted for it, today we are looking at the Predators Series 2 Unmasked Berserker Predator. First off, I want to thank everybody who came over to the Facebook page and voted. It ended up being a split decision with one vote being the deciding factor, but in the end here, Berserker won out over the cloaked Jungle Hunter Predator. And it seems fitting since this is the older of the two figures. So going back in time, checking out an older figure. So why don't we just jump right in and take a look at the Berserker. Now Berserker has just one accessory and it is his little short wrist blade. As with all of the Predators in this series, it just pegs right in there. Now I don't like these nearly as much as I like the extendable ones in the normal Predators, but it makes sense. These blades really couldn't physically exist inside these gauntlets. And Berserker has the little short stubby one, which is not my favorite of the group. My problem with giving Berserker this one is that he is the one on the posters with the big long blade. They gave that one to Falconer just because of his samurai fighting scene, I'm assuming. And they gave a middle range blade to Tracker. I at least would have changed out Tracker and Berserker, given Berserker the mid-range blade and given Tracker the short blade, but that's just me. However, I do have an extra Tracker blade, so I normally actually pull this one out and put in the Tracker blade. I think it looks better on him. The Series 2 of the Predators line is where I wasn't really sure where NECA was going to go with this. It was all still based on the movie Predators. Now, I was really wondering at the time how long this series would last, if we would branch out into the normal movies, or if I was just going to concentrate on this film. And in the second wave, I ended up initially passing on two of the three figures. I picked up the Tracker, which I have already reviewed, and the other two I just left sitting on the shelf because they were redos. There's the masked battle damage classic Predator, which I've yet to pick up still, but I'm planning on getting him eventually. And there is this guy that I left on the shelf, and then one day I just kind of needed a figure fix, so I picked him up. And I'm glad I did, because he definitely is something different. As for the figure itself, it's a little hard to grade just because so much time has passed since this guy came out. Remember, this was Series 2, and I believe that was late 2010 or early 2011, and we've gotten so many waves of Predators since then, and NECA has really stepped up their game in the meantime to make this line better and better. So what we have here is one of the older style bodies with weaker articulation. The sculpting's still good. I think the paint is a little bit lacking, especially from the stuff we've seen just recently with the re-release of the Jungle Hunter Unmasked. This thing can't hold a candle to that paint-wise, but it's still a solid figure. Starting down at the bottom, he's got his little Predator boots, which I always thought were a little funny. I like the sculpt on him. The 3 toes, a lot of metal-looking stuff. The paint on him's a little dark, in my opinion. He's got the little side toe and little back claw here. He's got his leg pad. Some nice sculpted detail on the legs, a lot of musculature, and a good, almost elephant-looking texture to the skin. He's got these little red arrow kind of looking things down here, and some spots on the back of his legs. His loincloth is pretty standard issue. Soft plastic, he's got a hard plastic loincloth underneath. Little bag back here, some side panels. Kind of more armor looking in the front. Now, I think this may be a different kind of soft rubber than they've started using as of late, because this is very inflexible. It's very tough. It's kind of, I guess, the beef jerky of soft rubbers to use on a figure. It's not as nice as some of the newer stuff that seems very pliable. Maybe it has something to do with the way I've stored the figure. Maybe it has something to do with just the run that was going on at the time, but it just doesn't seem as nice of a material as they've used lately. The torso, I'm not a fan of. It's a little messy. The sculpted detail in the musculature is really nice, but these little dots and the dashes, it's like Morse code going across his chest. It's never been a favorite design of mine. And from what I've seen, NECA's done 2 different versions of this paint job across 2 different figures. I don't think they've ever really got it to look like the movie. The movie had a very unique look, and I think now they could probably nail it. It seems like their painting has gone up a notch. Their new factory's doing a little better than the old one. But here, it just looks a little blocky and a little paint by numbers. Some good detailing in the arm. He kind of has like a warty texture in points, and then more scales and the little red dots and everything. It actually kind of reminds me, if you ever seen some African scarification rituals where they kind of cut themselves and kind of get these big keloid scars and stuff. It almost reminds me of that, and that would actually kind of be a cool notion that these predators had some kind of scarification ritual. I'm writing that into my Predator movie. When I direct that in like 2027, there'll be some kind of Predator weird ritual like that. I'm telling you now. Spoiler alert. And then he's got his gauntlet here. It's a little drab in the color scheme, but once again, I guess it works with the movie. It was a very dark movie for the most part when we saw the Predator, so I guess it's a little hard to have reference to it. He has his open hand here. On this side, he actually has a closed fist, which is unique. The other figure had an open hand. Of course, he has his wrist gauntlet with the blade. Really nice looking here. Kind of a leathery color, I guess you'd call it. Now, one trick I think I mentioned in some of my other videos with this is these wrist blades are a little loose when you first get them, and I actually build up around the end of them with a little super glue. I basically coat the end of it with super glue and kind of put it in the gauntlet, take it out of the gauntlet, put it in the gauntlet, take it out of the gauntlet, and then let it dry. And that gives you a good coating of super glue on the wrist blade that will let it stick in a little better and still look good and still be functional and removable, but they won't fall out at the drop of a hat like they kind of do out of the factory. He has his chest armor here, the little strap going across, and the whole shebang around his shoulder here. Once again, just the coloration isn't as nice as some of the other stuff we've gotten. I have to admit, it's been a little while since I've watched Predators. It probably is just a necessity of the movie that it looked like this, but it would be cool if it was neater looking. He has his little neck collar on here, which is movie accurate. Good to see that's there. Nothing really special here on the back, just more of the same. He has his shoulder cannon, which can actually rotate just like in the movie. There's his long dreads, the soft pliable rubber. Now these ones are still kind of a halfway breed to that wolf predator. They kind of stick together a little bit in places. They're still really pliable and really movable, but some of them are just clumped together, which isn't as cool as the new ones that are all kind of independent. But still, they work just fine. And of course, the real star of this figure is the face sculpt. We have the kind of squid-looking thing going on. He's got those massive mandible jaws. He has the kind of suggestive back of the throat there, the teeth exposed, little teeny tiny little eyes, which are yellow with a red rim. Really tight painting on those eyes. They're very tiny and fairly good detail on them. The head looks a little wonky just because it has like these almost cuts in it, which is part of the character design, but it just looks weird. And the red paint kind of got away from him in a couple places. There's some kind of super bright red paint in places where it shouldn't be. Another detail I like about this head is the little quills here on the side before it gets to the dreads. It's a good looking head. I think they went a little too extreme with this character design with a big head, but it works. I wish we had more explanation of what the super predators are, because while they are very similar to the predators we know, they're very different. That head shape is really extreme and just kind of crazy. Their bodies seem more reptilian almost. They're not as sleek and slimy as their brethren. They're obviously taller. And then they have these weird feet. The normal predators kind of have bigger feet, and these guys look like they have less toes or a different configuration of toes, and they fit in these little teeny tiny boots, where the other predators also have the sandals. I had heard some theories that this was supposed to be female predators, and that was why they were killing the other ones. It was like a praying mantis thing. But I think if that was the case, there would have been more of a concentration on them actually mating or something like that. And I don't think the movie would have been that afraid to call it out that these are females. I honestly believe that it was not the intent to have these be female predators and that these were just another tribe, but I'd like to know where the genetic split happened that made them so different and so similar. For articulation, he has a ball-jointed head, pin socket shoulders, hinge and rotate at the elbow, ball-jointed wrist, swivel at the hips, V-joint at the crotch, swivel at the upper thigh, bend and rotate at the knee, though my knees are incredibly stiff. This one does not want to bend at all. It's very tight. And then ball-jointed feet that really only serve as swivel joints. And of course, if you want to include it, he does have a lot of rotation up here in the gun. You could swivel it side to side, up and down, and of course, as I mentioned before, the barrel will rotate. Now, this figure shares the body of its original release counterpart, the paint job is significantly different. The original release Berserker has a much lighter flesh tone. The markings on the chest are kind of more dotted on it. And I know supposedly the unmasked version is a more movie-accurate version of the character. But personally, I like the coloration of the original Berserker release a little bit better. Now, I'd heard rumors, and these are just rumors, that the Berserker had been re-released with the mask in the new color scheme. I never saw it. It may never have existed, but I really do prefer the, I guess, error of a paint scheme that they gave him. I think it looks a little better. The purpley gray just seems really drab to me, and the brighter colors on the original release kind of work for me. I also think some of the armor detailing is a little nicer. This guy seems to have a little bit more sheen to it, a little more layers to the coloration on the armor. It's a minor detail difference, but I really do think he's overall better painted in the armor department. It is a little disappointing in that we have the same figure that is the same character, and yet so vastly different from one another that it's almost hard to believe they are the same character. Overall, the Unmasked Berserker Predator is, well, it's nothing spectacular, but it is a good piece to have in your collection. It gets a weak recommend from me. It's not a must-have. I honestly think that he's the only Super Predator to get unmasked in the film. Kind of makes it unnecessary. I prefer just to have the group of 3 masked, but he works. There's definitely nothing wrong with having it. It's good that we have an unmasked version, I guess, because I'm sure if there wasn't one, I'd probably want it. But honestly, I feel like the whole second wave of NECA's Predator line was one of their weakest. And it really is cool to look now and see the Predators that we have now and see how much cooler they've gotten and how much more work NECA has put into this line and how amazing it's been. As I said before with the Falconer Predator, I don't think these guys are going to get a redo anytime soon. It's too soon, in my opinion. But I think if they ever chose to go back and make a updated articulation version, maybe some updated paint scheme on it, because while the paint on this guy is just fine, it's nowhere near the level of some of the newer stuff they've been putting out. And I think it wouldn't be the worst move on NECA's part now looking back at this guy. At first, doing the Falconer, I thought it would have been a complete waste on their end, but the more I look at it, it could be a feasible thing to do that would actually work out to some extent. So maybe we will see it one day once NECA's exhausted all other options with the Predator line, which I don't think will be for a very long time, especially since they started dipping their toes into the whole expanded universe, and we've got games, we've got comics. I would love to see the Broken Tusk out of the original AVP comic. I would like to see Scarface out of the Concrete Jungle game. There were some other cool masks that were in the Alien vs. Predator game that came out for the PlayStation 3. There's probably tons more that I'm not even aware of. There's some cool things left to do, and I'm very excited to see where NECA continues to take this line because they've done an amazing job. So that brings this iteration of Predator Week to a close, but it leaves me with high anticipations of what we're getting next, because the next wave is going to be so very cool, because we are finally getting away from our alien overlords here and getting to a human. We are finally getting Dutch. So excited to finally be getting Dutch. I have loved NECA's Terminator line. They put out some really cool figures in that line, and Arnold as Dutch to me is one of his other most iconic roles, and it would be so cool to get a couple different versions of him to pose alongside my Predators, because my Predator shelf has been very alien-centric lately. Super excited for those. The release date on those, from what I've seen, has been a little iffy. I've seen everywhere from like February to April listed as possible release dates for those guys. So we kind of have a wide area. I'm guessing since this most recent wave was speculated to come out between December and January, and then it aired kind of towards the late side for most people, that it will be a little longer than February before we see Dutch. But he'll be here soon enough, and I am so super excited for that line, and I can't wait to review it for you guys already. Finishing one Predator week, already super excited about the next. NECA's also teased us that they're going to get the next 2 waves visible at Toy Fair, so I can't wait to see what they're doing there. And then, supposedly, fingers crossed it stays on track, but this fall it looks like we're finally getting AVP. I know it's a horrible, horrible movie, but I want those Predators just because I'm a completionist, apparently, and it kind of sickens me. I kind of sicken myself with this whole thing. I'm a horrible person. Thank you for joining me once again for this Predator Week. Make sure you check out Outside the Box Reviews on Facebook. There I post all kinds of stuff, figure finds, new things I get in. Heck, when the results came in for this vote, I posted what I thought was a pretty funny little picture of this guy having decapitated the cloaked jungle hunter, which I was a little proud of, even though it was a rushed shot. Make sure you check it out over there, make sure you subscribe to this channel, of course. And until next time, this has been another Outside the Box review, and stay tuned, because soon enough we will be getting to the chopper.